Suzanne, what about concerns around the presidential election, considering the candidates we're dealing with here?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. One of my favorite lines in the speech was about how American businesses don't have the luxury of worry of sitting back and admiring problems, but instead have to get to work. So what we're really thinking about this election year is how, number one, there's so many negative campaign ads, and how do we rise above it and remind people that America's best years can be in front of us? And number two, how do we pressure candidates, policymakers at every level on both sides of the aisle to remember what a superpower American business is, how important it is for families and workers, and frankly, our national security. So watch for us to get even louder this year.
Well, you're making the case, arguably louder, for free enterprise. And I wonder if you think American business, if private enterprise, has a messaging problem.
I think the issue is, as a country, we've stopped talking about pro-business and being pro-growth. And we want to encourage the 134 million private sector workers, the 5.4 million, did you see the number today? This record high 5.4 million entrepreneurs who filed new business applications. We want to encourage these people to talk about why they're optimistic, because the reason they're optimistic is this is the most resilient, dynamic system in the world. And we need to start respecting and supporting this free enterprise system and frankly, defending against some of the attacks on it.
Well, you talk about the resilience, maybe not just of the system, but also I think the resilience of the U.S. economy has surprised many, even though inflation has come down, growth has hung in there, the labor market has as well. Is the message you are receiving from your members at the chamber that they expect that to continue, that the landing will be soft, no recession, and business is looking good?
Look, I think last year we coined the term secondhand pessimism because we kept hearing from companies that they felt good about their business, but were worried about the overall economy. We still hear some of that. I would say that if you're in politics, you talk about politics. If you're in business, you talk about business. And what business people talk about are inputs. How expensive is labor? When there are 100 job openings for every 71 workers, how tough is that? How much pressure is that to find the right talent? And so I think people want to be optimistic. That's why they're hiring. That's why they're creating new products and services. But they'd like to see government help set some conditions that can help us be successful.
I'm glad you mentioned workers. Let's go a little bit further down that road, Suzanne. One of the lines in your speech that jumped out to me was your defining of what businesses do. You said they harness human talent and potential and make it exponentially more productive. We're watching wages rise faster than inflation. And we're seeing in some pockets of the country, certainly as we saw in Hollywood and in Detroit, union contracts that are boosting wages not only for members, but in some cases, non-members. Even Tesla is announcing a big raise today. Does this trend, if it continues, make workers less productive?
I think this trend, if it continues, makes small business really scared, right? If you look at the inflation numbers from today, I think they're a blip. I think your previous guest was right. I think we can get back to inflation decreasing, the Fed decreasing rates. I think we can get to that place. But when I talk to small businesses, what they say is it's hard to keep up with these wage increases. When you talk to families, they'll say it's hard to keep up with these prices. So we hear a little bit more about fear of, in this tight labor market, at some point, the supply and demand problem is really the problem, as we all learned in Econ 101, right? At some point, we've got to increase supply, and that's going to mean increasing legal immigration.
Well, when we think about things that could ease the way for businesses on the worker front, sure, immigration policy may play a role, but there's other policy as well, including tax policy, especially as our understanding is there is talks of a deal being made on Capitol Hill right now related to business tax and the child tax credit as well. This is something we addressed earlier today on Bloomberg with Heather Boushey, a member of the President's Council of Economic Advisors. This is what she told us.
Well, let's be very clear. This is all just negotiations, and the president has remained committed to the fact that if we're going to do anything that gives businesses tax credits, that we make sure that people and families also get the tax relief that they need.
What would a tax deal like this mean for members of the chamber?
Well, I think we'd have to see the details, right? It's hard to talk about it in this speculative way. And with what's going on in the Hill right now, it's a little bit hard to be optimistic. But I think to the point that taxes are low and businesses are able to invest in their business, in their communities, and in their workers, that's proven over time to be better for families, better for communities, better for the country. So we like some of the details of what we're seeing. We have been working on these extenders for a long time. We'd like to see it come to pass, but really, we'd like to see everything that they're talking about right now, fixing the mess at the border, the crisis at the border, dealing with Ukraine and Israel's supplemental, dealing with these tax extenders. It's why we need a government that works.
Okay, well, I want to go back to something you mentioned a moment ago. As this debate over border security becomes something apparently real here in Washington, we've been waiting decades for this to happen. Are you disappointed that Republican members on the Hill are only having a conversation about security and not legal immigration that the job market so desperately needs?
Look, I think it's a great question, but I'll go back to, I don't feel like the business community has time for feelings. And so it's not that we're disappointed or angry or hopeful or happy. It's that we want to get to work. And so to your excellent point, we do need more legal immigration in this country. There are way too many jobs for way too few of workers, right? It is also true that this is a crisis, both in terms of national security and humanitarian issues and people at the border. And so we need to have, it's a complex problem, right? We need actual physical barriers. We need, an asylum hearing takes 7 years? That's nuts, right? So there's process, there's resources, there are agents, there are physical barriers, and there's legal immigration. And we need smart people to do complex work and stop politicking on it.